Alright, so this video I want to hopefully be a bit helpful, clarify a few things, and generally remark and expound upon the importance of simplicity and the power and empowerment that comes through reducing and comes through minimizing and in some ways negating. This is because perhaps sometimes I think certain people don't really understand what I'm saying or my approach. And generally the point of a lot of what I do is the understanding that generally our problems, our issues, health, mental, physical, spiritual, otherwise, generally coming from a sense of overwhelmed, sense of being burdened, a sense of being weighed down in a way. Whereas if we didn't have those sensations, we would feel joyous, we would feel light, we would feel happy and at ease, because each of those states has a certain quality associated with it. And really our natural state is this lightness, is this natural okayness. It's not necessarily overjoyed and oh my god I'm in bliss states, nor is it depressed. It's actually just a bit more neutral. And that inherent neutrality, that inherent okayness allows us to experience a whole spectrum of experience. And when it comes to even our physicality, the fact that we register weight, the fact that we register gravity, or we feel heavy or weighed down, that's indicating a blockage or a stagnation, because actually our body should be fairly weightless. We should be able to move through life without much resistance. We should be able to be up and down and around pretty easily, kind of like how we were when we were kids. We didn't have really the large sense of even having a body, because the natural state, the natural quality of embodiment of lightness, and to be a bit poetic, even a bit of an angelic radiance to it, or a lightness to it, that quality was there. And generally that seems like what we're trying to get back to, because that feels better. It's just kind of a bit more natural, and it's closer to what our inherent state is. That's kind of a bit simple. That's clear, that's concise, that's something that is accessible to pretty much anyone. It's something that mostly everyone can understand at some level. Yet we can easily skew that when we go down so many of the rabbit holes of self-help and therapy and psychotherapy and self-psychotherapy and spirituality and new ageisms and psychedelics and all these types of things, which all might be useful, maybe, if they are within a context, within a framework, within a foundational understanding that is coherent, that is organized, and that is weaved together well. Generally that is not the case, because if that thing was in place, then we wouldn't be generally attracted to doing things in such an extreme and offset way, because we would understand that basically we have these qualities, this certain set of lightness, this certain propensity towards releasing density. Because that's also another quality, let's say, of a child, if we're using that imagery, that metaphor. Basically they could have a fight with their friend and then 5 minutes later be okay, and then the next day it's like it didn't even happen, because they're able to just have an experience and let it go. So they have a natural inherent quality through their lightness to disperse density, to disperse this weight. But as adults, we lose that inherent quality, and we want to overthink everything and ruminate forever about nothing. Because thinking is great, but generally it's kind of useless because of this. Generally it's just procrastination, or it's indicative of confusion. Because if you knew and understood, then you would do. But you aren't, so you don't. So why really keep spinning in circles? Keep spinning in circles so you can give yourself something to do, an excuse or a reason, or perhaps some way of disempowering yourself, which is all great, because there's an inherent timing quality in that our paths do have a certain, or our lives do have a certain path and a certain rhythmic time quality to that. So that's also really just part of what we sign up for. So when I'm making videos and it seems like I'm just like being mean or judgmental or any of these things, my first immediate response is like, fuck you, grow up, like be an adult. Like I'm sorry you're raised in such a like dickless, impotent, spineless kind of culture that once everything's spoon fed to you, you can't actually conceptually understand anything beyond that. That's what my immediate response is, but I don't actually say that because that's not that constructive. It's not that helpful, and it's more so just me being annoyed. So that's why I have a more extensive conversation such as this to draw up more of the context. Because usually, a lot of times I say things to people and they're like, oh, that's not right. And then frequently what happens is they'll say what I was just saying as a justification for why I'm wrong. And I'm like, but wait, you didn't even understand what I meant in the first place. And this is generally, we don't understand these basic qualities and really what we're even trying to do and accomplish at a practical level. And it really comes down to this idea. So when I'm cutting things down or pointing out inefficiencies or missteps or whatever, it's basically like, okay, basically what we're trying to do is move towards simplicity. And that means removing complexity. That means releasing complexity. That means releasing the densities and the attachments and the heaviness that is causing us to stray from that in the first place. Well, in order to do that, we have to see them for what they are. We have to basically understand that that's actually occurring in the first place, and then be like, oh yeah, so we can do that. So then basically what ends up happening is, yeah, it's really not that hard. It's really not that complicated. It's just a matter of spending a little bit of time and energy to hear, listen. I don't know. I mean, it is also a variable thing. And also getting to the place of really understanding and accepting like who we are and taking steps to invest in seeing that. Because another thing people might say is, oh, well, you're just being negative. You're not telling anyone what to do. You're not giving anything constructive. I'm like, actually, I'm being constructive and telling people what to do the entire time. You're just not hearing it. Because the general idea is that, okay, if you're operating under something or someone's selling you an idea or a concept, or you have this belief about yourself, check in and say, like, within my actual experience, is it a real thing? Is my experience actually matching this? And just actually check in and engage. Because the thing is what we are at in modern culture is deep appropriation, deep entitlement, deep arrogance, deep ignorance. And as a result, we have no reverence for anything. Everything is a fucking commodity. We don't really have true reverence, true respect, because what we were taught as reverence and respect is actually just subservience. Because it's like we learn those things through school, through religion, or through our family generally. And those things are mirroring religious and feudalistic dynamics, which tell us, honor is sacrificing yourself, and love is putting yourself second and putting everyone else before you, and being a doormat and being a martyr and being a savior, because all these models and images that we're giving you are people that did that, but that's not actually true. That's not actually love. That's not actually how any of these things work in a functional, dynamic sense, outside of the demonic hypnosis. And that's really the general theme, is like, well, cutting aside the hypnosis, cutting aside the black magic and the imagery, what is the actual functional dynamic? What is the actual quality within our human experience? Because shocking news is, this is a body, this is a nervous system, it is whatever, so you can perceive these things just like probably most any other human being that has been alive on the planet, because you're a human being alive on the planet. So sort of presupposes that you might inherently have some of these qualities. Yet again, what we end up against sometimes and oftentimes is actually people's own addiction to the negativity, their addiction to the bullshit, which is completely understandable, and there's nothing wrong with it. And it's, again, part of this understanding that it takes time. I mean, I used to be a massive sugar addict, and it took time to not be that. Among other addictions that also took time to unravel. And even still, it's always a constant process of being alive, because we're alive, so that's dynamic, that's not a static, dead thing. So, for example, if you do actually, even if something that is, like, let's say someone's really thirsty and you offer them a glass of water, they might be like, oh, I can't accept that. I can't do that. Oh, I tried water once and it didn't work. It's like, for example, when I would do consultations with people, it's like, oh, okay, you have this thing and this is going on. Okay, have you ever tried this? It's like, this is like, okay, so have you ever tried magnesium? Oh yeah, I tried that once. I didn't really notice anything. It didn't do anything. And then I talked to my doctor, and then I talked to my friend, and then I got sidetracked. I got overwhelmed with work, and it just doesn't work for me. So if you could just tell me something else. It's like, oh, well, where'd you get the magnesium? I think I got it at Walgreens or Walmart. It said it was the best one. I don't know. It was like $3.99 a bottle. Okay. How much did you take? Oh, well, I just followed. The bottle just said like 1 capsule a day. So I took it with breakfast. Okay. So what you paid for was actually not magnesium. It was probably just ground up, I don't know, bones, or probably petroleum byproducts. That's what you bought. So you don't know actually what the fuck you're talking about. But you're paying me, or you're paying someone who you're labeling as an authority, but you're putting up all these walls of all of your own bullshit and all of your own past experiences, all of which are completely incorrect, completely irrelevant, and actually hindering your own growth. So if you could just shut the fuck up for at least 5 minutes, maybe you could fucking listen and hear what someone else was saying, and perhaps get out of your own fucking way. That's basically just advice for dealing with our own inherent defense mechanisms and resistances that we all have all the time. It's like, do I want to go get up and exercise right now? Oh, no. You don't need to do that. I mean, you did that already. I mean, it didn't work. You exercised twice, and you don't feel a million times better, so just stay here. It's like, it's that the voice that we all have. And really, success within anything, growth within anything, is learning to overcome this resistance, this voice that we all have, this drive and this addiction towards disease or being stuck, and basically learning to shift that into something that's actually a bit more homeostatic. So anyways, making fun of this example, which isn't actually a real person, I'm just using it to illustrate this inherent quality that we all have, which is that, oh, well, okay, magnesium oil, magnesium chloride, that's actually real magnesium that you can put on your skin that can cross that barrier and get into your bloodstream much more quickly, easily, effectively, and efficiently, and it's much cheaper, and it's actually been shown to actually affect and benefit magnesium levels among a whole host of other things. So when you say you tried magnesium and it didn't work, you didn't, you haven't, and you actually. So again, shut up and actually listen to what someone else is saying, and take a step back from your own delusion and neurotic tendencies to have a modicum of openness, a modicum of humanity, a modicum of space. Because this also goes back to the other quality that is a bit inherent in children, is a certain curiousness, certain openness, and a certain connection with their own feeling quality, to have a natural appetite to say, oh, I want this or I don't want that. And I think this resistance and this stupid monologue that people have going on and their addiction to their disease combined with the loss of curiosity and the disconnect with their own sense of things, is generally why we have situations where we're ending up where we are. So really, what I generally try to do when I'm making videos and doing things is lead people back towards those things. Not by saying, here's a bunch of other stuff to believe in, here's a bunch of other layers, here's what's wrong with you, here's what you should be, here's what you shouldn't be, here's a bunch of other complexity to layer on top of your pre-existing complexity. Here's more standardized views to layer on top of your already standardized views. Here's more disease to put on top of your disease that might help get rid of your disease. It's actually just going to exemplify and give you more excuses of why you have the disease in the first place. It doesn't make any sense. Wouldn't it make more sense to be like, well, you already have enough fucking complexity. You already have enough overthinking. You already have enough neurosis. You already have enough things to worry about. So why don't we, I don't know, diminish those? Why don't we, I don't know, minimize them? Why don't we, like, have less of them? Why don't we just go in a perhaps other direction? Because if the direction you were currently and presently already on was actually working and functional and producing the results that you want, then you probably wouldn't be here in the first place. You probably wouldn't be arriving at certain conclusions in the first place, because you would be happy and content in doing things, but you aren't, so it isn't. So who's the stupid one in this situation? Clearly, yeah. Yeah, so really what I'm trying to say is, maybe this wasn't true for all kids, but I just remember being a kid, and you're in places and you have feelings about people. I don't want to go near that person, or oh, maybe there's something here. Or you're walking through a store, and you're walking through a bookstore, and you see a bunch of books, and you're like, no. Okay, something's here. Boom, open it. There it is. I mean, I don't know. Like, it's not that complicated. It's not foreign. It's something we all have, to be able to have this just basic level of discernment. Now, whether we choose to develop it or cultivate it, that's our thing. But the real problem is the reason why I shit talk and make fun of the majority of spirituality and New Agey stuff in the world is because it's not based in actually cultivating any type of inherent qualities. It's not based in cultivating any type of skill. Because generally what we're taking is, we have people that have a standardized view of things that they never looked at, are completely unaware of, have no conceptual or relational idea of at all. And then they're taking concepts like, oh, karma. Well, that's kind of like what I already know, but it's like from this other culture, but I'm not going to learn the culture, the history. I'm not going to understand anything at all about it. I'm just going to take my own current and personal view and take that because it makes sense. Oh, compassion, yeah, I'm taking that. Oh, being in the present, yeah, I'm taking that. Oh, being spiritual, yeah, I'm taking that. I'm going to take and pick on all these things, which is the exact same behavior that a lot of people are getting flack for as hipster white women dressing up in like Native American headdress and head garbs and wearing all this shit, which there's a lot that's wrong with that. Or example, I saw another video of this like white lady at a wedding singing this video in a generic Asian accent about how she wants to be ninja. Not how she wants to be a ninja, but I want to be ninja. I want to go to Chinatown. She's like saying all of this shit in a fake Asian accent, talking about things that are Japanese, things that are Chinese, making fun of all these things, and everyone's just like, ha 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 ha. It's like, dude, that's so ignorant and stupid on so many levels, but you're an entitled modern American, so you don't even realize that that could be a thing. And I'm not saying don't do any of the things. All I'm saying is have understanding, invest the time and energy in research, and actually have respect. Like, because what I was saying earlier is because our culture is completely devoid of that, we have no reverence. Like, we don't respect elders. We don't respect old people. We don't respect anything that's old because anything is a commodity, because our entire life, everything's been disposable. Everything's just been a trend or a hip thing. So in terms of relating to anything that's real, authentic, rooted in any way, shape, or form, usually people can't handle it. It makes them mad. It makes them offensive. It makes them sick. Kind of like you've been eating junk food your whole life and someone hits you with like real food, it's going to make you sick because you're not conditioned for it. So we'll have to realize we are conditional beings living in a conditional world. which is one of the main concepts of Buddhism, which always fucking confuses me when people are like, "Oh, I'm a Buddhist. I'm like into Asian spirituality, but you're a dick and you're an asshole." I'm like, wait a minute, I'm a dick because I'm an asshole because I'm trying to extrapolate and deconstruct the conditional nature of our reality, of the self in which we believe in and the world of which we relate in. But wait, I'm doing that based in a functional understanding of the construct which you supposedly identify of with that organization. Doesn't make any fucking sense to me, but it is also indicative that they've never actually done any of the things that I'm talking about. They're just, again, the white chick at Coachella who's like, oh my god, this like traditional Native American thing like looks really cool. It's like, do you not understand that's like fucking war paint? You're wearing a war uniform, which means a whole host of things to a culture which your people have already completely murdered and genocided, and now on top of it, you're just doing this because you think it's like cool and hip and funny, but you know, a week later you're just gonna throw it in the garbage when it's not cool, hip, or funny anymore, which is the same exact thing New Age and spiritual people are doing to these ancient traditions and not even knowing it, but yet I'm a dick and I'm an asshole and I'm an offensive person when I come out and actually say like, hey, this is what you guys are doing. I know you maybe aren't too aware of it because you're in this conditioned matrix, but hey, maybe you want to just like ease off a little bit, you know. But the fact is like, these people are very far away and they generally don't care and they generally look at us, and because this is a story I can tell you is some of the teachers that I've had and friends that I've had who maybe studied in Asia and then wanted to come to America, their teachers were basically like, America, why would you want to go there? It's just a bunch of hungry ghosts. Like, they're not going to get what you're saying, they're not going to hear it, they're just going to steal it as their own, and in worst case they might even murder you. Because that's generally what happens most of the time, in case you've studied history at all. I don't know. But that's generally where I'm coming from and what I'm trying to do within my own life, because it actually works and because it actually makes sense and because it's trying to cultivate these qualities and actually moving a bit further out of standardized views. Because perhaps it doesn't make any sense to be like, oh, well, this is the thing that's making me sick in the first place, so I'm just going to see how I can make it better. Wouldn't it be like, hey, if this thing's making me sick, why don't I just, like, not do it? It's like, oh my god, there's a weed in my garden, like, but it's like stealing the nutrients from all of the other plants that I'm trying to grow and cultivate, like food that I'm trying to eat, but I can't eat the food because this weed is stealing all the nutrients, but it's actually toxic, so I can't eat it or use it. Oh my god, let's go, like, water the roots. Let's, like, put beads on it and, like, just, like, make it beautiful, you know? Like, just pour love onto it and it'll heal everything. It's like, no, it's a fucking weed. So it would be smarter to be like, wait, what is this? What is the nature of it? What is the quality of it? What is the function of it? And how is it relating to this larger context that I'm operating in? That's actually called intelligence. That's called being an adult. That's called being a human being. That's called common sense. It's like, wait, you want food from this garden, but this thing is stealing the nourishment and preventing you from actually getting the food from the garden, but you're going to be like, oh my god, just love it. Just like open your heart to it, you know, just like bless it and send it good vibes and like maybe do a vision board, I don't know, like just some ayahuasca, like I think it'll just go away. I mean, like, or it'll just transform into something beautiful. It's like, what? It's like, clearly you've never actually done anything. Because it's like, the last point that I make is if you want to be good at anything, any skill, let's say you want to learn to play guitar. Well, you're not going to start playing guitar by playing like Steve Vai or Jimi Hendrix. You're going to start by learning like, wait, where do I put my finger? Ow, that hurts. Ow, I'm getting calluses. Ow, that hurts my hand. That's where you're going to start. Okay, but then let's say you've been playing for 6 months and you're like, dude, you just got to like put your finger there, man. And that's like guitar, man. You just like put your hand, like you put your fingers on the frets, dude. It's like, that's guitar, man. It's like Jimi Hendrix. He just put his fingers on the frets. It's like, no, you have to let go of that basic understanding to be able to get the next depth of understanding or the next piece of your skill, and then you have to keep doing that, meaning you have to keep forgetting, you have to keep moving on and keep integrating a larger sphere of knowledge and understanding. So yet when people approach life, approach spirituality, they think it's somehow different. Like, well, no, I've never done anything before, but like I'm just resting in the concept of infinite oneness and the fact that everything is nothing and nothing is everything and everything is empty. So I'm just going to rest in that concept. It's like, wait, you can't even sit still for 5 minutes. But like all of a sudden you're on the level of people that, trained for 50 years. Oh, okay. My bad. I'm the crazy one. Whoops. Anyways, hope this video has been helpful, and I will talk to you soon.